Hello, hello. Karen Swain here from Accentuate the Positive Media. And what else do I do? Blissful Beings, the Inner Sanctum online session groups. I'm going live today for the show. I'm using a new platform, so hopefully the tech will all work out. And you'll excuse me if I'm not getting it right, but I'm using, the Restream Studio platform. I've been using this platform for years, but I always use it with Zoom simply because I'm a vain old broad, and Zoom has you can make your wrinkles go away with Zoom, but you can't with this platform. So I'm in the raw. Haven't got a green screen behind me, but I've got the gorgeous and delicious and wonderful Jill Stein Clarkson with me on the show today. Welcome to the show, Jill.
Thank you.
And
So good to be here.
Yeah, Jill and I have been hatching a plan to help you all enlighten this world in a very mainstream, down-to-earth way. I've been doing these shows for around 15 years, and I have never monetized my platform in any way, shape, or form. Let me just check that the lives are working. Can you see the lives are working? Yeah.
I can see the live and the live on Facebook, and
great.
there it is on YouTube.
Fantastic.
So we're good.
We're good. We're rocking. And we're going to tell you what Jill has been up to. She's one of these very down-to-earth people who's an amazing medium and psychic and channeler. And I'll read a bit of Jill's bio. So this is called Put Your Psychic Abilities to Work, because we want to flood the world with your light so that you can help humanity lift and rise. I mean, it's been happening for years, but never so more now. This is the time. Jill is a prenatal medium who connects with souls who are preparing to come to Earth. She's traveled to Africa working with dragon energies to heal the land, and is a private pilot with a foundation that supports aspiring pilots and single parents. I'll tell you what, she's amazing. And she works as a business coach for women rocking business. She is their tech fairy godmother, she tells me. And Jill's helped hundreds of women step into their full potential and become entrepreneurs that love their business. Her mission is to normalize energetic medicine and help spiritual practitioners, healers, psychics, doulas, astrologers, Reiki practitioners or Reiki people, shamans, you name it, any sort of energy sort of way of working in the world, become more visible so that they can support all of the people opening their hearts and minds to receiving healing and support at this time of great shift with humanity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And she's offering some amazing programs to help you do that. I mean, I'm someone who is, accentuates and acclimates and activates the New World teachers. But once you're tapped in, tuned in, you're online, you're like, whoa, I'm doing this. I can't help you with the business thing. I was telling Jill, I was quite dyslexic as a kid, and I don't do the business thing. I just sort of am guided by my guides the whole time I do it. And mostly I do everything for free. So I'm not very good at business. Jill, how did you get into all this? Well, Jill and I had this chat. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. And I said, I just tell people to trust and be guided, but not everyone's at that level of trust. Like when we were talking the other day, because I just said to the universe, I can't work out the whole 3D money matrix. Can you just support me so I can do my work? And that happened. But not everybody's at that level of trust. So having these practical tools to actually make it happen, it sort of leads people down that trust road when they feel confident and competent at what they're doing. Yeah, go on. Please go on.
Yeah, I didn't hear what the actual question was, but spiritual people that are coming into their spiritual talents, they so often have trepidation, and they'll have imposter syndrome because there's other people that are already doing it. They'll feel behind, like they should be more ahead of where they are now. They should have started a long time ago. There's so many things that stop us in our tracks when we could be getting out there and offering our gifts for money and growing an amazing business. And if we're going to normalize energetic medicine, like is my goal, I want it to be just as natural for somebody to seek out this type of healing or support as it is to think, well, it's time for me to go to the dentist or I need to go to the doctor. We need both. And people's hearts and minds are opening right now to receiving spiritual support. And so we're going to need a lot more confident practitioners that are ready to step in and release the fear around putting themselves out there. And that's a big part too of what Karen can help you with. And then I'm going to help you actually know what to do so that you can find the people that are meant to be your clients in a super wonderful, authentic way. And having those business structures underneath you so that you can just settle into that and know there's going to be organization and know that there's going to be a way for people to get to you without you just spinning your wheels and killing yourself, working too hard. And so it's my idea that there's going to be freedom within these businesses so that people can enjoy what they're meant to do without so much overwhelm and wondering if they're on the right track. And I teach people how to use their own spiritual gifts in their own businesses, because so often we forget that we can also tap in for business guidance. So Karen, am I just going to keep yammering away here?
Sorry, I'm posting on Facebook.
I disappeared. I'm like, she left me.
She left me alone. I'm all up in social media. Are you going to keep yammering away? Yeah, keep yammering away. I want to know, I did employ a business coach once years ago. She charged me a fortune, but I loved her. I showcased, it's like over 10 years ago. I love what she was doing. She wasn't necessarily psychic. You know, she was sort of, she was amazing anyway. And, but it didn't work for me. What she did for me didn't work. And I can't tell you, Jill, how much money I have spent on reaching out for people to help me sort of, put a book out or do a business and none of that mainstream 3D marketing thing worked for me. It just didn't work for me. So what I love about you is you're one of us. You know what it's like to be psychic and empathic, and you know how to, you work with the frequencies as healers, I believe, and psychics and astrologers and people working with the light. We cannot buy into that sort of 3D lies, marketing sort of energy to sell our businesses. It doesn't work. We have to be really transparent and open and authentic and real and truthful. It's just the only way it's going to work. So I think, I know that's who you are and that's what you offer. So maybe you could just share with people, a little bit about how it works.
I can really speak into that part because right now, as we have this amazing program that's starting so that I can help support people in starting or growing a business that they've already started, whatever level they're at. They might just be exploring their spiritual practice, but they want to get the business structure underneath so that then when they're feeling ready and they've gone through their classes and they've practiced, they can push the button and say, okay, I've got, my website and I've got my calendar and I've got a way to get paid, all the basic things that you need in a business. And then there's people they've started practicing, they're seeing clients some, but they'd like to see more. They like to fill their calendar and get more stability within their business. And a lot of my clients, they have jobs that they would like to leave because they're feeling a calling to do this kind of work instead. But we need to do that gently and mindfully so that nobody's ever put in financial peril. Mm-hmm. I would never say anybody, unless there was just so much evidence there and they were just like, no, it's time for me, but I have the ability to do this. I would say, okay, but you need to have a runway and you can't get into a place of desperation. You have to be coming from a place of giving and being in service so that people can find you. And the piece that you were just speaking to was having a business coach that doesn't understand mediumship and channeling and you're tapping into your highest good. Mm-hmm. That's where we run into traps, because I will get on with a potential client and I will hear from their guides, no, it's not time for her yet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Her time is in 2025. She has these other things she needs to handle. If she starts her business right now, it's not really going to work out for her. Please tell her first to go do these things and then come back to you. And I will say that.
Yeah.
And so the business, the up here gets kind of taken away, get somebody into the program and everybody should be doing this. No, everybody shouldn't be doing this. It has to be your time.
Yeah, absolutely. God, that speaks to my journey. I can't tell you. I was so gung-ho. There's so many stories of psychics and channelers who go out there and they just talk to a small audience and then they explode, and that is not my story. My story was I was so gung-ho and eager, putting myself out there and getting no traction. And I kept asking the cards, before I realized I had these, like the guides on tap. And I got the card study more and more and more and more. And I didn't understand what that meant, because it wasn't like go to school and study another healing technique. I'd done that. But I think it was like move within and find that study yourself, get rid of your lack of confidence, get rid of your I'm not good enough programming, unravel the social conditioning and be more in alignment with what you're helping other people, source, I suppose. So yeah, sometimes it isn't timing. But when you do reach out to business coaches and people, like I spent thousands of dollars. I remember this guy came and did a thing in Sydney years ago, like over 20 years ago. And he was such a great speaker. And I signed up, I think I paid him $5,000 to help him get my first book out. And I could have flushed that money down the toilet. And I asked for my money back and he didn't give it back. I've done that so often, just spent money on programs that weren't right for me. Yeah. So hence, I've never spoken about business on the show ever. This is the first. You're a first because I trust you.
I feel very honored. And I have to tell you, in order for me to feel in alignment, like when I decided on the pricing for this program, I thought to myself, okay, I wanted people to be able to come in and get a few sessions a month and be able to pay for it. And that's what I'm going to charge for it, because I don't want it to be, the program is going to be the difference for somebody getting a few more sessions a month. I know it can do that. I'm not going to promise immediately thousands of extra dollars a month, but I can tell you that you can cover the program with the tools that you're learning in the program. That's what's so cool about it. But that you were speaking to this, I asked for my money back, and I want everybody to feel safe. And so, in this particular program, they have a month, the first month. And if within that first month, they decide I'm for some reason, it's not feeling right, I'm not resonating, whatever, they'll get all their money back. If at any time past that first month into the 9 months, life gets in the way, things happen. Sometimes we decide, we need to take a pause or we need to shift. And so at that point, they can either stop their payments, or if they paid in full, we can figure out the timing and they can get the money back for what's left of the program. I just want everybody to know that I'm always going to work with them. I'm not going to put anybody in peril here, so that they can feel comfortable growing.
And I love that you're doing, you do your programs with groups, but I love that you're doing this sort of one-on-one thing too. I've paid coaches and they don't do a one-on-one. They just send you streams of emails with lots of information. I've been helping. So I want to tell everybody that I've been helping Lee Chandler, who's one of my clients, create a new podcast show that's about to launch in the next week or two. And Jill was one of the first people we put on the show. And I reached out and spent thousands of dollars on a guy to help me podcast well. And he had groups. And but it was never one-on-one with him. I can't tell you how much money I spent on this guy, probably $10,000. And then he sent emails with information about what mics to buy and this and that and the other, all that sort of tech information, which again didn't really work for me because he wasn't a psychic or anything like that. He was just like, I'm going to show you how to start a podcast show. God, I blew my money with him, let me tell you. But he was a fast talker. There's a lot of fast talkers out there that when they talk, you go, wow, that sounds like a good idea. That's that marketing energy, you know what I mean? And you think, yeah, I need that. I need you. But for this industry, it doesn't always work. Yeah. So I have to say that I learnt by doing it rather than by paying people as far as podcasting goes, because there wasn't a lot of spiritual people podcasting when I started podcasting. Spiritual, psychic people, mediums, that sort of thing. Yeah.
You were a trailblazer. Yeah. Well, the reason I know this is the right time for me to bring this to the world is
Hmm.
because I just went through about 5 years of doing it myself.
Right. Hmm.
I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on the business coaching, and then but then I've also grown my prenatal mediumship practice, my dragon master practice. And so, now I'm at a place where I have, when I open up sessions at the bookstore, I'm completely booked all day long and
Hmm.
my classes are full. And so I know how to do it. I've done it. And so now I can take that experience. I wish I'd had me 5 years ago, because
Yeah.
then I would have had all the structure in place. I found my home. I found the business coaching structure so that I learned all those business pieces, but to have had somebody also that was a medium guiding me by listening to my spiritual team
That's right. Hmm.
and telling me, because it's not always about just logically what should happen in business.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's tapping into what's right in the moment for you in your particular business. And sometimes it's not always the obvious thing.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's something that we really need to tap into.
Yeah.
It's just magic happens. And I
Magic.
learn something every time I work with a client. And I agree with you that that one-on-one piece is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
It really
Totally.
makes a difference, a huge difference. Everything in the program is live.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
It's
when you
not.
said, I wish I found somebody like me. I used to say that all the time. Wish I knew somebody like me to help me that knows what I know. I wish there was somebody like me that could talk to my higher self or speak to my guides, or, guide me along this path of putting yourself out there as a practitioner, out there in the world. And, the only reason I started on radio was because I watched that show with Frasier, and he was a psychiatrist on radio. And I remember watching it years ago, thinking, wouldn't it be amazing if there were talkback shows that actually gave you information about your human potential, about your ability to create your reality, about how you can shift frequency, about how you're psychic and empathic, and how you can change the world, rather than psychology stuff, which kind of like, I don't know, I won't go into it, but I found a lot of people do therapy and psychology, and they just keep looping as they go over their story, and it doesn't really, rather than shifting their vibration and changing the story, completely changing it. And that's why I started on radio, to teach people about their abilities to create their reality, shift their frequency. And yeah, and the radio station I went to didn't have a 7-second delay, the second radio station. So I started interviewing people. And here we are 15 years later, I'm still doing it.
There you are, still doing it. Oh
But
my God.
I find that people teach through their stories, they teach through
Mhm.
their stories. And the way I learn is when I hear someone's story, I'll remember every bit of their story. But if they just throw, facts at me, I'll go, wow, that's amazing. But will I retain it? Not so
Mhm.
much. I'll
Mhm.
retain the story. Yeah. So tell us some stories, going into the stories,
Tell me
about
some
people that you've coached. And full
stories.
disclosure, if you do sign up for Jill, full disclosure, you get bonuses, because I've made her give my listeners
Yes.
bonuses. I'm like, right, what are you going to give them? And I get bonuses. And then Jill gets, where it's a win-win here. We're all winning. We're all winning. So full disclosure. Yeah. So let's hear
Okay.
some stories about people
Oh,
that,
some stories. Yeah. So you know what? I'll kind of tell my story
yeah.
first, because I knew I was meant to be doing this. I knew I was taking psychic development classes. I was doing hands-on healing. I knew this was my path. I knew I had a spiritual path, and I just knew. And so I practiced and I got confident in what I could do. And then I went to our local spiritual bookstore to get an interview, to go in and be one of their readers. And the interview was great. I mean, I interview well. I mean, I don't think I've ever applied for a job I didn't get. So I went in with full confidence. And then she said to me, well, will you just do a dragon reading for me right now? And I was so nervous. And I got my dragon cards and I knocked on them to clear them and I held them up to my heart. And I felt like she was judging everything I was doing. I felt like she was thinking, oh, that's not the way the other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so uncomfortable. But then as I tapped in and I started talking to the dragons, I just realized that it wasn't about me.
Right.
None of it was about me. It was just about the messages that I could bring through for her from the dragon realm and the dragons. And it just settled in and I felt so much more confident. And there's so many little things like that, learning about how it's not about you. It is about the people that you're going to be serving and whatever's coming through for them. And there's a couple things that helps us know and do. And one of the things is then when you're done with the session, as much as you love them, you can then release them and not let this work overwhelm you with worry over the people that you've served. Because if you can't let them go once you're done, you're going to live a life of just constantly feeling like, did I do enough? Did I give them what they needed? Are they going to be okay? And when you have someone on your team, a mentor that can walk you through really stepping into what you can do and removing that fear and that overwhelm and that worry, then you can do it so much more powerfully and still have a life of your own, which is so important.
Absolutely. I concur. Oh, that is just so right. I mean, when you start doing this, as I said, you're on Lee's show, which is called The Wise Old Soul, which is coming out soon, sharing your story. And Jill's also been on my show, sharing her story about being a prenatal medium and a dragon master and a pilot and all these amazing things, going to Africa, talking to the dragons. But when I first started, it's all about, you're so in that, am I getting it right? Am I getting it right? You make it all about you. What do you think of me? And you're looking for clues, like, are you smiling? Are you agreeing with me? You're so wrapped up in the me story, instead of being in that service. It's like service. I learned through a friend of mine when we started on radio, who was a psychic medium that did normal sorts of, when I say normal, because I kind of speak to people's higher selves and tell them why they're here on the planet, and, unravel their social conditioning and, look at all that stuff. But she would do your classic sort of like speak to the dead people, predict your future, which is the mainstream. And, when you say things to people and they go, no, that doesn't sound right. No. And I remember watching her going, I have to trust what I'm getting. I have to trust what I'm getting. I just have to say, it doesn't matter if they're not relating to it. It's what I'm getting. So I've got to trust that. I remember watching her do that over and over again. And often when you're doing those types of readings, I can see this happening, or is there a name David in your life and stuff like that. After the session, they go, oh yeah, but they don't think about it at the time of the session. Yeah. So that's a huge component of this work, to take the focus off, are you getting it right, and just be in service to the other.
And to take the filter out. Because so often when we think we get a message and we think we have something to give, we will start thinking, oh, that doesn't fit, or this person doesn't look like that fits, or like you said, the reaction isn't quite what you're looking for. You're looking for that validation. And in the beginning, that could really stop us in our tracks if we don't have our wonderful team going, yeah, you're doing great. Just keep going. And that's what being a community is all about. Finding a community that you can be with, that you can share story with. Karen, you were talking about story. We need to tell our story.
Yep.
We need a safe place where we can tell our stories and everybody else can say, yeah, me too. I understand where you're coming from. And this is how I overcame this. And then little by little, you start to trust yourself. Yeah. And there's these really amazing little tipping points. There's the tipping point when you finally stop hoping somebody doesn't show. Because in the very beginning, there's so much nervousness that you're thinking, oh, if they didn't show up, it would be okay.
I can so relate to that.
You're so relieved. And then there's also, I need a half an hour to tap in and get ready to be a medium or get ready to be a psychic. And I need to go through all these things. And little by little, that starts to melt away.
Yes.
And you start getting excited when somebody shows up and you realize that you don't need anything for the channel to come through. You just need to sit in front of your client and ask and be open and want to give. And so it gets easier. That's what I promise you. It gets easier. And then you get to the point where you're excited and you stop filtering and you start giving even this craziest weird stuff that comes to you, even though it seems like I just made that up. And you stop saying I just made that up and you give it all. And that's when people say, oh my gosh, that is spot on. Because really what's interesting is the more random it is, the more validating it is.
Mm-hmm.
The more specific and random it is, the more excited the clients get because they're like, oh my gosh, yes. How did you know that my brother that passed away lived on an orange orchard? And I'm thinking in Texas. I'm going, there's no orange orchards in Texas.
I know.
Oranges. And she says, oh, actually, he lived on an orchard of oranges. So those magic moments just help you grow in your confidence. And
we could talk about, psychic reading for years, for ages. Because, you get these random things and then your intellect says, that doesn't make sense. That's not right. This person said they live there. That doesn't make sense. I'm going to edit that and not say something. Like that's a big one, right? That's all about the process of being psychic. Trust, as Lee says. Trust. I think on every show we've done about 6 shows with Lee now. Amazing. So excited about this new podcast coming out. So I'm going to say to all of you, please help, support Lee and his venture, because he's one of those people who's in the third act, I think Jane Fonda calls it, in his 60s, and he's been a businessman all his life. And he owns a charity like you do. Oh, no, was it Sandy that owns the charity? No, sorry, I'm getting people mixed up. Running a charity and running a business, but he feels like he wants to be of more service. And so he's sort of, sharing people's stories. And
he's amazing. I was honored to be one of the first ones that he interviewed because I fell in love with him immediately. Aww. You are going to love watching his show as soon as it's out. And just getting to be in his energy was just an amazing blessing. So I'm so excited to see the other interviews and watch mine again and see him again and just be in that wonderful space because he's amazing.
He is amazing. And I kept telling him, people are going to love you, Lee. People are going to love you. But when he's never put himself out publicly, mind you, he has put speakers on around Canada when he lived in Canada. He's a Canadian but lives in the States. And so he's sort of introduced people on stage. But putting yourself out, publicly on a YouTube or standing on the stage or running a group or that, that takes a lot of trust and confidence. And confidence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So get out there and share your gifts with people. We were talking about, I was on Preston's show, was it? Yeah. And we were talking about, some psychic mediums that run up to people in streets and give them a reading. And I said, have you seen that dude that's a taxi driver? And people get in his taxi and he's driving and they go, have you seen him? That's hilarious. Yeah.
It's so good. I love watching him.
You love watching him.
So much fun when those come through.
So what else do we need to know about your programs? This is a question I want to ask you, because people that are usually very spiritual, psychic, empathic are not so business-minded, let me say. I've never seen myself as very business-minded. Mind you, I'm very techie. I love tech, but I'm not a fabulous reader. I'm okay writer, like I can write. But or a speller, having been dyslexic, that energy is quite common amongst very creative, spiritual people. Spiritual, I'm using the word spiritual. I mean psychic or empathic people. How do they sort of find that organized business mind when wanting to put themselves out there and make it a business?
So it's interesting you asked that, because one of the questions I ask before my class, and I have a list of things of kind of what are you struggling with, and one of the ones that is almost always picked is being a spiritual being and an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How do I make them the same person?
Right.
Because it just doesn't. And spiritual beings that are love this kind of work, they struggle with that business piece. So here's the thing: is with having a program like this that you can go through, it's broken down into these tiny steps you can take, so that it's almost like the frog in the water, or whatever they say. It's like you're gonna start, and it's every time I get on with somebody on a session, they say to me, oh, it's like the weight's been lifted off my shoulders. I'm not afraid of it anymore. That just makes sense. I know what to do now. I know what my next steps are. And we take it a step at a time, and we take it a step at a time together, so that you aren't really even going to notice. And at the end of the 9 months, you're going to look around and say, oh my gosh, I have a fully functioning, supportive business that I'm not overwhelmed by.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of, it's a wonderful combination of, yes, the business strategies that you might not have thought about, or you need to be trained in so that you can do them effectively, and the spiritual practices that make an amazing entrepreneur. We did an exercise I had a retreat this last weekend. We did the most amazing exercise where we didn't sit down and write out the prompts of who's your perfect client, what do they need, how are you going to find them. We didn't just journal on that. We tapped in to our clients.
Yeah.
And we asked that as a question from them. What do you need from me? What are you struggling with? Who are you? And how do you want me to reach out to you? So that they could say, this is how I want to find you. So bringing in this wonderful, yummy spiritual practices into our business, it just even makes it more magical, and even makes it feel more in alignment with who we really are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What was I going to say? I've got this thirsty here with these grey aliens. Like, what about people who've had, do you work with people who are experiencers that want to get their message out there and talk about, because a lot of experiences, when I talk about experiences, people have had ET experiences, they're given all these downloads and information to share with humanity. It's a big thing. And they might be like really shy or very mainstream people that just feel like they can't tell people. NDEers as well. People have had NDEs. Like I had one of the first people I did on YouTube was Nancy Rhines, and she was a scientist and a complete skeptic, and atheist, I suppose you'd call her. And she died. She was hit by a truck and dragged under this truck. She broke 24 bones in her body multiply. It's like, talk about spiritual sledgehammer moment. And on the other side, she's given the message, like she's given all this information about humanity and what's happening and why we're here and how to shift our vibration and all this spiritual information, and then said, go back to Earth and teach it. I'd have to say she's done really well. But yeah, people are given this information and they say, teach humanity this. What do you want to say to these people?
It can be a wonderful path, even just to do that. If you're, I free write with one of my guardian angels, and I get so many amazing downloads and messages, and I was reading some of them this last weekend. And if that's where you're coming from, I just have a message to get out to the world. I've been given wisdom, or I'm remembering wisdom that I have, or I had a life-changing event and I went and I learned. There's so many neat ways that we can receive truth, that we can share. One of the ways is when you're sleeping. I love the fact that when I'm sleeping, I go to Dragon Master School and I learn more about the dragons. I don't necessarily wake up with this amazing, download. But then when I am in my speaking mode or I'm writing, that's when it comes. what I've learned. And so, yes, I love this question because there are people that are just, how am I going to get this out to the world?
Right.
So that's a structure, but it's also about having the confidence to do that and knowing how to deal with what comes back and being ready for it and having your cheerleaders standing next to you saying, yes, you're right. This is something to share with the world and helping grow your network and just guidance. Because sometimes we have something and we have no idea what we're supposed to do with it. And so we might need to team up with somebody that can help you figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's such a common story. And I've had so many people on my show that have that exact story. And that's really what the show's about. You know, I had Yarn on the show. He calls himself Yarn Gray, which is not his real name. It's kind of like his real name because he's still hiding his real name because he has a job in the mining industry, very mainstream job. And when he started talking about what he's doing, like showcasing experience stories, he's putting people that have had stories on his show. And he's shy, like he's really shy, but that call to help other experiences was so strong in him that he puts out this podcast show. And he's still kind of hiding. He's still in the spiritual closet, even though he's out there on YouTube. I guess he figures people in the mining industry are not going to watch ET experiences shows unless they are. But
that is a big thing for people that are trying to branch out and follow their calling because they have jobs and they don't know how coworkers are going to deal with it. So we address that.
Do you? Yeah.
Well, we absolutely do.
Yeah. It's a big one. But the world is waking up. I mean, I know there's a lot of spiritual coaches out there like you now, spiritual business coaches. But I mean, I know Jill and trust you. So yeah. When you're doing the work, I think that, as you said, a lot of people feel the call but aren't ready because they've got inner work to do. That's when you call me. But when you know that you're ready, that's when you call Jill. But what did I want to say? I wanted to say, oh, God, I keep having these questions. I keep losing in my mind. Yeah, this is what I want to say. So when you sign up for Jill's programs, we were discussing this just before we went live, you're not going to pay her the money and then find out it's not right for you. What she's offering is a free sort of like talk to see.
It's not a free trial.
It's not a trial.
It's not a free trial. So you're going to sign up. You'll sign up for the program. But if within that first 30 days, you realize it's not the right thing for you, you'll just get your money back.
Oh, okay.
So so it's not technically a free trial. But I do, I'm flexible. So what happens when I have these conversations with people that are considering working with me is we really tap into, is this the right time for you? And is this the right thing for you? I'm whipping out my pendulum left and right a lot of times when I'm on these calls because I really want to know. I can tap in and I can feel it, but I just seek that extra validation from your team and the timing. The timing is so big because I'm pretty sure anybody that ends up on a call with me is eventually going to get there because they're feeling the calling. And there's a very good chance that at some point they're going to be growing a business, but is it the right time? And we figure out a way. If the answer is yes, this is where they're supposed to be right now, we figure it out. Even if we have to have a very creative payment plan so that they can get in and have a little bit of a longer runway, because the goal is to immediately get you to the point where you're seeing at least a few clients as you're growing, as you're spreading your wings, so that your cost of the training is getting paid for. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But we need a little bit of a runway to get you there sometimes. If you've never practiced before and you need to feel comfortable and maybe you're just not quite ready and you don't have the money to spend just to do it and learn, some of you can afford it. You could say, I want to train and I want you to help me get all my pieces ready. And I want you to help me get my website out. And I want to start getting on social media and getting visible. And then I'll be ready to hang my sign on the door, but I want more practice first. But I want to start training now and I have the money to pay now. Excellent. That's great. Let's get you signed up for the program. But there's some of you that don't have that extra income to spend on something like this so that you can then make this your thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I hear and I feel that it's your calling to get this started now, we'll figure something out. We will make sure that you have that 1 or 2 month runway so that we can get you to the point where you're at least, even if you work full time,
Mm-hmm.
if you're ready to start seeing people and practicing, that we're going to sit down and say, what are you offering? What are you charging? Let's get you situated so you can start doing that. And then, of course, as you grow and you get more clients, then you can, we'll just spread it out so that you can make it happen if this is the right thing for you. We'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
And so it's my deal. So I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And help people figure it out.
The charging component is big, because a lot of people feel they buy into the paradigm that if you're doing God's work or spiritual work, it has to be free. I ran a Monday night group for a couple that started at about 9 years beforehand. They were older. I was in my 30s at the time, and that was very much her mantra. She would charge people $10 to come to the group, and it would not cover the bills of hiring the hall and putting out a magazine and all this sort of stuff. But she was just always in poverty, and her partner's mainstream job was supporting the whole thing, because she had this, if you're doing God's work, it has to be free. And that's a big paradigm people need to get over. Yeah. Ooh, 11 looking at. Yeah.
That is the first thing. That is the first thing that when I say, okay, here are the things that stop people that are being tapped on the shoulder to do this kind of work from doing it. And it is, how can I charge for God's gift? How can I charge for this? And, I have a kind of a simple answer to that.
Okay.
And what I like to talk about is, think about the people in the world that make beautiful music.
Yeah.
They were born with these amazing talents to make beautiful music, to bring joy to the earth. And athletes that were born amazing athletes. Think about how much money they make.
Yeah.
And aren't those also gifts from God?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this particular gift? Why is this particular talent something that shouldn't receive money?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not negating if you've tapped in and you've gotten the message, no, you're not meant to make money at this. Flat out. I would never tell you otherwise if that is the channeling that you've received.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just your fear or your doubt or your value issues, or thinking that, oh, I probably shouldn't charge for this, if it's more your mind or your upbringing or what your outside story or your inside story, if it's a story that you shouldn't be charging for these services, it's a story, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So let's help you get over that story.
Yeah.
So that you can start doing your life's work.
Absolutely. I had a client once years ago, and I helped her tap into her psychic ability, and she was so damn good. She was funny. I can't remember her name now. She had this fabulous Texan accent. She was so good, but she had this mainstream job that paid her a lot of money, right? Not that she was going to give that up, but she wanted to, tap into her abilities. And we did that. And guess what happened? She got fired. She got, like, the universe started pushing her, but she didn't go down. Like, I couldn't convince her about how amazing she was. I couldn't convince her. Even though she was doing it on me, I said, just keep practicing and do it on people and get confident and know that you can do it. Anyway, they ended up selling their house to pay the bills. A whole lot of stuff happened. She came back to me years later, and she had just gone back into the same industry that paid her lots of money and just ignored it. But maybe it wasn't the right time for her then, which she's definitely confident. But I was so blown away at how amazing she was. I had another client like that in Singapore who I managed to get her to write a blog. Oh my God, her access to spirit was incredible. But she came from a very well-to-do Singapore family that wasn't into all of it. She had a lot of pressure around her. Anyway, what I'm saying is that when you do want to put yourself out there like that, you really need support. That's why I started the group too, like that, just that support. But you've got a whole gang of people who are doing exactly that and that can support you, because your family might not and your boss might not want to support you, but you need that support, right?
You do. And you also just imagine if you can support yourself with this work,
Right. Mm-hmm.
or at least partially support yourself, how many more people you can help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to do it for money, how many more people you can help, because you can, if it's your dream, you can let something else go. I have so many people come to me that say, I have a great job, but it doesn't fulfill me.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have a great job, but it doesn't fulfill me. I know I'm meant to be doing something else. And so we make this amazing plan of, what are we going to do to get you to the point where you can leave your job and do this all the time, or do part-time, whatever feels comfortable for them. But I always have to remind everybody, because what can happen is you start making your money on the side, and then you change your lifestyle.
How do you
And so
mean?
you've got your spiritual practice going, and you start making more money over here. You still have your job, and you change your lifestyle. Well, now you need both incomes to maintain your lifestyle, and you don't get to leave the job and continue growing the business. And so we make a very solid plan. Yes, you're going to start bringing in the money, but we're doing it alongside, and you're not changing your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So that at some point, I always ask, how much do we need to make you over here so you can leave over here? Consider benefits. And then we know, okay, I need $5,000 a month so I can leave this job. Okay, that's what we're going towards. But as we build you up to that, don't change your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you're ready, you can leave over here, and then you can come over here, you can make $10,000 a month, because now you're full time. Then your lifestyle can change.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's be committed to growing the thing that's going to fulfill you and make you happy.
Here, I've got a question for you. So because this program is about that, about business, and you work as a psychic who talks to the incoming souls and dragons and all that sort of stuff, do you find that sort of, like when you're on a call and you're talking business and people are saying, my daughter's pregnant, can you bring through the soul of my grandchild? Like, does that, you're laughing. I bet that happens.
It's so funny that you say that. So this, talk about story. Oh my gosh. So I have a client, and I was helping her grow her business, and now has a thriving business with a really full, wonderful program. Her husband actually just was able to leave his job so that now he can go after his dream. And when she came to me, she didn't have a plan at all. She had a lot of amazing ideas, but she was kind of all over the place. I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do with this woman? But this woman, she just does mystical branding. I mean, she is this marketing goddess. And when I met her, I was really struggling with my own branding, with my prenatal medium work. Everything I was putting out, I wasn't resonating with. And she said, everything you put out there has a vibration.
Yeah.
Everything you put out there, whether it's a post or a picture, whatever you put out, it's going to change the world in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. That I was hooked. I said, yes, help me create the magic thing that I can put out and feel really good about.
Yeah.
So she was taking me through a visualization that she takes all her clients through, so she can then ask them questions and get a really good feel for who they are, so she can help them with their branding. So we're going through this visualization, and I find myself at the portal where souls come to Earth.
Yeah.
And there's an old man. And I was talking to him, and he said, I want to come, but I'm afraid of being young again. He had tragic childhoods. And we just walked, and I put my arm around him, and we walked. And as we walked, he got younger and younger until he said, okay, I think I'm ready. And when I came out of the visualization, I had no idea what her deal was around family. And I said, this is going to sound like a crazy question, but by any chance, are you trying to get pregnant? And she said, well, we did for a while, but we've been trying for about 7 years. We haven't, or I think it was 7, maybe it was 4, years and years. And we're starting to think about maybe adopting. And I said, well, there's a soul here for you if you're open to it. And so she just kind of thought, okay, well, whatever. She told her husband, I think this woman that I was doing this visualization with told me she met our spirit baby. And the next time we got on a call with her, it was a coaching call. She was coming for a coaching call with me. And I always ask, what are you celebrating today? And she said, well, I'm pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And they had gone out camping that weekend and opened up to this soul. And now she has an amazing baby.
Make me
So
cry.
yes, there is crossover.
Yes, there is crossover.
It just happens.
Oh my God. Oh, so how? Oh, okay. Sorry, I asked the question in my head before I have it, and then they start answering. How do the dragons help people in business? Money, business?
Such a rich question.
Yeah.
So I would never, dragons, not everybody has met dragons, is embracing, the concept of dragons. So I would never say you have to have the dragons help you with your business. I don't bring that into the program and force that upon anybody. But so many people really do love the dragons. And I have seen the dragons come in with just amazing support. In fact, I was working with somebody and we were kind of talking about the birthing of a business and how the business is this kind of almost its own entity. And I just saw these dragons around this amazing ball of light. And I asked them, well, what is that? And they said, this is her business.
Wow.
And we're here protecting it and loving it and helping her birth it.
Wow.
And also there's so many ways the dragons come in to help us. Communication. Oh my gosh, being a business owner and being one that, we are in the business of selling ourselves, of marketing ourselves, but it's an offering. It can be gentle, and the dragons can help us with our communication and putting ourselves out there and feeling good and feeling loved and getting validation.
Yes.
And feeling confident in what we have to say. The dragons are back there going, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, go. They're so loving and so amazing.
When I asked the question in my head before it came out of my mouth, they just started showing me. And that's when I went, they just started showing me all the ways that they can help inside. Yeah. Huge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful. I love it when the spirit teams just come through. There was a woman I was coaching on the retreat last weekend, and she was asking questions, and I could just feel all of her support teams showing up, and she's been hiding.
Yeah.
And she says, are they going to help me get visible? And I said, all I'm hearing is that song by Jennifer Lopez, Let's Get Loud. And they're all going, let's get loud. And that became our mantra song for the rest of the weekend. We were all dancing and playing it because it was just, that was the vibration that was coming through. Let's get loud. It's time.
Yes, it's time. I mean, it's been time for a while, but it's just getting more and more important, more and more important. There's so many people waking up. I mean,
and they need that guidance. That imposter syndrome, when you see somebody else doing what you're doing and they're doing it successfully, so often there's this sinking feeling in our hearts of they've been doing it longer. They do it better. They do it differently. I'm behind. And so often we'll let that stops us in our tracks. I have really good news for you. If somebody else is having success doing what you're thinking of doing, that means there's a market for it. Go do it. There are plenty of other people that need it, and they need you. They need you to help them.
Absolutely.
If we're going to have this normalizing of energetic medicine, we're going to need a lot more people practicing energetic medicine.
Absolutely. And making it normal. Exactly. If you have a pain or an ache or a problem, instead of running off to the doctor or the dentist or the normal, but there are umpteen millions of people out there that can show you a different way, a less invasive way, a less expensive way, a more empowering way to overcome whatever problem you have. Got to get the tribe out there. Get the tribe out there.
Get them out there. And all the things, the amazing things like the death doulas, helping people die well. I mean, that's magic. Can you imagine what the death doulas are doing? Like,
I can imagine what the death doulas are doing.
I feel like there's things that they're doing that I don't even comprehend. Like what's happening to souls as they leave the planet that is so much better then I mean, I feel like they're just helping people have a different death experience.
Absolutely. And never more illustrated, because as I was telling Jill before, I did a recording with Preston Dennett for Lee's show yesterday, Lee Chandler for the Wise Old Soul. I know I'm spruiking it, but anyway, it's coming soon. And Preston went into his out-of-body experiences, which he did also in the Inner Sanctum on my show too. It blew me away then, but he went even more into it because over the last few years, he has been exploring the hell realms, right? I'm like, okay, what do you see? Where people who die, who were so caught up in anger and frustration and resentment, carry that energy into an astral plane and loop and loop and loop. So, death doulas or people that help you die with gratitude and love means that your next experience can, yeah, like he was just talking about all these astral places that he went to. And then he had this guide, took him to the other side where he saw his mother and how amazing the other side is, because the astral realms are not the other side, as we talk about. They're just energy, thought forms, thought matrices that we buy into in this realm that we kind of, if we're not, if we don't break through of that fear, we go into. So yeah, death doulas, people that help you die with love. And because so many people are scared of dying, and to die with fear means that you carry that fear like you're still exploring that fear. Yeah, it's important stuff. It's important work. Yeah, it's a beautiful story. All right, how long have we been yakking? Okay, for about an hour. So tell people about how to buy your programs. And again, total transparency. When you use the link that I'm going to supply, I'm getting a bonus as well as you. You get the bonus and I get the bonus.
Yes.
What are you offering people when they use my link?
Yes. So just a little bit about the program in a nutshell. So it's 9 months. It's starting next week, but if we need to connect, you're not going to miss out on anything. And we have these different pillars that we're going to go through so that you can either be growing your business or that you already have, or that you can start to gain the confidence so that you can finally put your sign out and start practicing and doing it without overwhelm and with a community around you. And I am helping you with so many different aspects of that, which is the structure you need to have a business, as well as the mindset you need to have a business, and the practices you need, and all the things. And so there's several calls a month during this program. There's a training call, there's a networking call, there's a Q&A call so that you're getting more individual attention, and there's a technology call for those people that need it. So there's so many things to choose from, whatever you need. And we're going to be opening up those networking calls to the outside world several times during the program. So you're going to get the chance to network with so many amazing people, not just the people in the program with you. They're all amazing. But we're going to also be inviting other people in. And we're going to have watch parties for the trainings. And you're going to have a listing on our website when you're ready. And the great thing is, if you're not ready by, right at the beginning of the program, if you're not ready till the end of the program because you're still practicing, you're always going to have that available to you. When you're ready for that listing, you're going to have that. Same thing with the healing fairs. We're going to have some online healing fairs where you can do your sessions there, where we bring in the people. Again, when you're ready, there's no hurry. So there's 2 parts of the program, and they both come with some private time with me, in addition to all the trainings and all the things that you need. And one of them normally comes with 3 private sessions with me. If you're coming through Karin, you're getting 6 private sessions with me. The other program comes with 18, and instead of 18, you're getting 24. So just more individual attention as a gift for coming through this amazing place. And then we also get to share with you. We get to share some of that revenue with Karin for bringing us all together. And but in order to do it, you need to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because we need to connect and make sure you're just meeting me, some of you.
Yeah.
And we need to connect on a one-on-one situation where we can listen to your team. I always listen to your guides and your angels, whoever comes through for you, and ask. Is this the right thing for you in this right time? We have to have that session. And then you also get to ask any questions you want to ask. And we're just going to figure out, where are you in this journey? And is this the time for you to get this kind of training?
Yeah.
And if it is, I'm going to invite you in.
Yeah.
And if it's not, another time. But we need to connect.
Yeah. So I'm just reading some comments on the Facebook group that are not coming through the restream. I don't know why. But anyway, Vladdy says, I want to finally get out there. So even though I'm kind of scared, I'm willing to go all the way. Yay, Vladdy. Go, Vladdy. I know, Vladdy.
I love hearing that. That's amazing.
And Lyndon says, so identify with today's topic. Spent the last weekend doing readings and receiving total validation that my readings were accurate. Feel the doubt and do it anyway, she says. And Moon Tucker, hi, Moon is watching, and she's like, beautiful truth. So Moon's out there doing her thing. She's been on the show.
And she's been, he or she, I think it was she did readings this weekend, and now you're here listening to this. Yeah. There's some synchronicity going on there.
Yeah. What does Kim say? There sure are, hallelujah. I don't know what that was for. Something that you said. All right. Is there anything else we want to tell people? Click my link.
What do we want to tell people? Book a call with me. I love having calls with people and learning about you. Every time I do a call or a session with somebody, I learn new things. It's just so beautiful. And I just, my mission to get this work out there so more people can be helped.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's all
beautiful. Yeah. Yes, and not to negate my own work, but I can't teach you about business. Maybe I could, but I don't want to. But I can definitely help you tap in, turn on, tune in to the team, to your spiritual team, to the guidance that's itching to come through you. And
these two pieces together would be beautiful, or like one and then the other. I mean, and I think in either order, really, but yes, I mean, that's such an important piece too. And so, what are you called to do in the moment? And
what are you called to do? Let's talk. Darling one, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Yeah, as I said, I had Jill on the show, so go and listen to Jill's story if you want to know more about Jill. And it's coming out on the Wise Old Soul podcast too. She shared more of her story. I think you said to me, can't remember, a few months ago, I'm doing this business thing, because I didn't know you were doing the business thing, but you had that training like in your corporate world. So we don't have to let go of all that corporate stuff that we learned. Mind you, I've never been in the corporate world. I mean, I've been in catering and all creative things, but a lot of people are in business. They're in finance or working for banks, and you don't need to leave all that behind to be a reader or a healer. You just don't need to. You can take it all with you. You can bring it all with you. Yeah, excellent chat. Thank you. And Dona Sananda Kumara. Got it right this time. Love you. Thanks, darling one. Thank you so much. Jill?
Thank you.
And thanks for everyone that's watching. I'll have that link. It should be in the description or in the chat. Hopefully I've got that together. And click on that and you'll get bonus. Bye for now. Big love to everybody.